So we really believe in like mini user acquisition. So what's happening today within games is that you have huge IP like AAA game releases, movie releases, something that's long form will plug itself into short form first so that it can get discovered and so that it get familiar with its audience. WeChat has become super successful, not just from gaming, but overall as a super app. So like you can do anything inside one app. Whereas in the West, we have an app for everything.
Welcome back to the show. Today we have Jay Plays or Jasim on the show, and he's gonna go into how he's built a gaming company, right? But this isn't like the AAA games that you're thinking of. It's a lot more basic, but funny enough, it could be a lot more lucrative than a lot of those games. So Jasim's gonna get into his gaming company. He's also gonna talk about how he tried to start an IPO and how that whole deal fell apart during COVID. So it was an IPO for an esports company, right? And the whole deal fell apart during COVID. He's going to get into that, and he's going to talk about how he actually quit that to now build a super app. You know, those super apps in most parts of Asia, right? Where there's an app that has everything in it. He's trying to build something like that for the world. We're going to get into that as well. And we're going to talk about how he's actually raising funds to build this app and to build his gaming company. How he reaches out to investors, how he pitches them, how his strategy differs from a lot of the fundraising advice that you see online. And finally, we talk about his live game show that he hosts every single week. It's super interesting podcast. Let's just get right into it. All right, Jasim, to kick things off, let's talk about your upbringing, right? You spoke about Saudi Arabia and Lebanon before moving to the United States. How did that experience kind of uh, shape your entrepreneurial journey?
All right, man. I'll tell you my story. My story is quite an interesting story. I would say, okay, I'll start with my name. My name is actually Jasim, but my friends call me Jay. And I'd say more like today, I'd say like Crypto Quitter calls me Jay Plays. That's my new pseudonym. So look, I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia in the Middle East. I'm originally Lebanese. And I guess my story comes from like, just being around and being lucky or lucky enough to, be exposed to multiple different cultures, regions, religions, beliefs. And so, I was born and raised in Saudi, lived there for the better part of my childhood, moved to Lebanon, went to boarding school, and was also exposed to, obviously like the I'd say the craziness of being within a boarding school environment, which is, most of my friends and most of the people that I lived with as a teenager were all, foreigners, kind of living in Lebanon just because it's good at education. Uh, and so, yeah, I was born and raised in an environment where all my friends were from different, cultures, religions, places. Uh, Ended up studying or moving to the U.S. for my undergrad. Studied at USF. Studied economics there. Probably the best thing I ever did was to understand economics. It's something that not a lot of people, or I'd say it's underestimated, right? Like I think economics can be um, really put into anything or applied in anything that you do, especially within business. So yeah, I started my career at Rocket Internet, which is obviously one of the biggest tech institutions globally, and this was like around 2010 period where you had a massive tech boom similar to what's happening right now. But at that time, we were kind of going through like the burst, and everyone was doing, trying to sell things online, right? So I started my career off in the, um, I'd say, subscription box industry. And so what we used to do is we used to kind of bring things and package them up in nice little boxes and then scale them by selling them online monthly to users across the US and then globally. And I very quickly, started loving the tech space. I'm, kind of really a big reader, so I have a lot of I'd say people that I idolized within the business space, like people like Mark Cuban, and obviously those are uh, um, a lot of people would give you their favorites, and there are many of them, especially if you read. But I'd say like Tony Robbins was a big one as well. And then ended up moving to New York, growing that business, and fell into I'd say a stagnant stage where I didn't really see much growth within my career. And so that's kind of where I started thinking more from an entrepreneurial standpoint, like where do I want to take things? Do I see myself within this market? Ended up moving to the UAE, which was at that time really a bursting scene, kind of like a new landscape, a new page in the Middle East. I obviously speak the language, so it was a very attractive place for me to move to. Started working within the media scene, which was also super transformative as you had a lot of kind of spending power transitioning from, the offline traditional media space onto digital, right? Because then I'd say at that stage you could start to see measurement within digital advertising, investment, etc. So I'd like to say that I was a big part of that shift. Um, and during that phase, it was I'd say more like a exploratory phase for myself. I was looking into uh, you know emerging tech, which is I'd say like that's probably my forte. I love things that people don't understand very well. And at that time, crypto was up and coming. Specifically within a region like the UAE, it was quite advanced, supported. People, I guess the government also wanted you to take um, initiatives to, like, expand the field more. So I really jumped into the crypto space quite early, into the blockchain space even more so, trying to understand how the technology itself could benefit traditional businesses, not knowing where it would go, right? And today's is a completely different story. Um, Slowly but surely, I mean, when you look at the blockchain space, it's got so many different verticals, right? And it's just a technology. People think it is a technology of it's a vertical of itself, yes, as a macro, but when you start looking in, it's got so many different verticals that you can apply it to. And some alpha here is that I guess one of my biggest passion points, I'd say the company that I wanted to work for when I first graduated was Zynga, um, as a gaming company, and I love gaming. Not that I'm a massive gamer, by the way. A lot of people think that because I love gaming, I'm a huge gamer. I'm not the biggest gamer. Like, I don't play what everybody else plays. I'm more of a casual guy. So, um, like if you ask me, my favorite game is Tetris, Mario Karts, things like this that are just like let fun. Um, but and Zynga was kind of transforming the Facebook space at that time, and I guess the vertical that I chose to look deeper into has been gaming, and um, there are so many different sides to the gaming industry itself. You've got, development, publishing, which is one thing. We heavily looked at the esports side, which is probably where I first started out because I'm a big believer in number one, sports. I'm a big sports fan, so I could obviously see that transitioning as a business model over to gaming. And we come from a time where everybody's kind of playing, right? Everyone's on their phones, so it just clicked very early for me that this would be a massive industry. um, and so I jumped into the esports space quite early, developed, invested in, developed our own org, and ended up moving to the UK to IPO that org, which was a pretty, I think, very early thing to do. Like, not a lot of people were thinking that way. What we were thinking is, how do we connect such an emerging, industry to capital through the capital markets so that it could actually sustain itself? Um, and it then became COVID, and it all flopped, which which is great, right? Like I'm grateful. I'd like to say as an entrepreneur, as just as a human, I'm more grateful for the failures that I have, right? For the things that flop, because they, you get so much out of them. But yeah, man, moving on from there, I really started looking just at the gaming space in general in terms of like publishing, game development, and stuff like that. And that's where or my business partner and I, um, started looking at mini games, hyper casual games, which is the space that I love most, and built out what we are doing today, which is called PlaysOut. And what PlaysOut is essentially a game publisher or an infrastructure play. And what we do is we try to power super apps with games, right? So we're looking at kind of the model that has worked really well in the Chinese market as WeChat. WeChat has become super successful, not just from gaming, but overall as a super app, right, Ashley? So, like, you can do anything inside one app. Whereas in the West, we have an app for every game, sorry, for everything, right? Um, and I think one of the biggest, or my thesis is one of the biggest glues between consumer behavior of like, okay, I'm gonna do one act to the other is games. And that's something that's been proven on WeChat. So what we try to do today is we try to power, you know, e-commerce applications, ride-hailing applications, just any telcos, any large application that has a massive amount of users that today, these users will go in, they'll do one act and they'll bounce out of the app. So you've got, billions of users, millions of users that are using your app for less than a minute a day. What we want to do, or the pain point that we're trying to fix, is we want to increase time spent on your app, right? So let's say I'm, Uber today. Uber today has started as a ride hailing application. It has then transformed into a multi service application. That you've got Uber Eats, you've got Uber Grocery, you've got Uber Points, you've got all of these things within the Uber application. But 90% of the users only use the car function. How do you connect the car ride to to the food delivery? Right? And so our thesis is that, okay, well, if Ashley is waiting outside for a car and he's got, 5 to 6 minutes wait time, instead of leaving the Uber environment and going to TikTok or Instagram, why don't we push him to stay inside Uber and to play a game that he might like, right? A quick, easy, fun game. And because he's spending time in the app, we're going to reward him with an Uber Eats discount, right? So all of a sudden, I have transferred you or I have acquired you into my foods services as well. So you become an Uber Eats customer as well, right? I activate you into different behaviors through my reward system.
Okay, let's dig into the super app thesis, right? We've all heard of WeChat, has everything in it, right? But in the West, that super app concept is still like it doesn't exist. And so, if you could get into why you think an app like Uber needs a game in it, and will that actually eventually lead to a super app?
So, well, look, the point is that you're not driving the car, right? And the whole thing is like, okay, well, let's give you another example. Another great example is probably like e-commerce, right? Airlines. Uh, just think about all the applications that you have that just have one function. Even today, like we're looking very heavily into crypto wallets. Crypto wallets are, okay, well, Ashley, if you own a Bitcoin, you put it into my wallet and you can do some DeFi stuff and you can uh, you know yeah, yields, and you can do this and swap, and okay, cool, but everybody has that. So what makes you so special, right? The only thing that makes you special is probably that I used your exchange today. So OKX, okay, I used the OKX exchange, I'm going to use the wallet. Binance, I'm going to use the Binance wallet. Well, okay, fair. But I don't think we are one dimensional anymore. I think we are moving towards consumer functionality. That means as Binance or as whatever it is, I want to make you a Binance Maxi. I want you to eat, live, and be within my brand, right? So yes, I want you to hold your digital assets within my wallet, but I also want you to do other things. I want you to be involved in my ecosystem, so that when you open my wallet, there's other things to do, right? You can buy merchandise, you have reward systems, you have quests, you have leaderboards, you have, and you know, I was having this discussion the other day. It's so funny because someone actually made me aware of it, and it's like we're trying to gamify the experience through games. So there's gamification is one thing, but having actual games is the other thing, right? So the gamification is kind of just to like activate the user from doing activity one, two, three, and four seamlessly, like they're all interconnected, right? So like I'm going in, I'm gonna get a car, and then that's gonna give me some reward back, and I'm gonna use that reward to buy or to get a discount on Uber Eats. And because I ordered enough Uber Eats, I can now get some merchandise, and it's just a whole loop of a game. And if I order enough, then I'm on a leaderboard that makes me want to order more. And you're just you become an Uber Maxi. You just become like, okay, look, I'm getting so much benefit from being involved in this ecosystem, and it's not all siloed. It's not all broken up. And today, I think everybody in the West, it's like it's broken up experiences. So I go to this, I can do one function, and if I want to do the other function, I can. But what ties them all together is really gamifying that experience. Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to add the content side of it. The content side of it is games. So, you know what, Ashley, I don't just want you to do this, that, and that. Why don't you play a few games that are, could be educational, could be reactive, could be whatever, just that 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 will help you kind of have fun, spend time, and it's not just for the benefit of the platform. It's actually for the purpose of fun. Um, a big trend we're seeing is that because of this, you have a lot of IP looking at entering the gaming space, right? So I'll tell you the trend that excites me the most is probably, and I know that everybody's attention is shorter than anything today. So, I respect you. You have a beautiful podcast going on. I hope you continue to slay the pod, right? And I do the same thing. I've got kind of like a game show going on, and it takes about an hour, maybe sometimes longer. The hour and a half show is so difficult to get people. Only your truest community are going to watch the full thing. So everybody's attention is now this short, right? So we really believe in like mini user acquisition. So what's happening today within games is that you have huge IP like AAA game releases, movie releases, song releases, um, anything that has a long form content, or something that's long form will plug itself into short form first, so that it can get discovered, and so that it familiar with its audience. Just like when, I mean, this is a trend that's been going on for a couple of years now, but I find it so interesting that some of the most popular songs today on the radio are the songs that catch fire on TikTok, right? Because they are like short snippets of the song, 10 seconds, that go viral because of different posts, and that song becomes famous because everyone's like, what is that song? And then it becomes a radio hit. So we're thinking the same in terms of games.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you right, this it's not about fun as much as it
Mm.
is about retention, right? Having a game on an app gets the
Yeah,
user
yeah,
to come
yeah.
back, and in a way, it reinforces brand values to the user.
Totally. It just drives you to it. I think like today, Everybody's trying to grab your attention. It's so difficult than when it used to be. I mean, look, there's opportunities everywhere is a good thing, but it's also so much more difficult because 24 hours of the day, someone's trying to take your attention away. And today, we're just more likely to be like, okay, well, I have selective attention. I'm gonna put my attention where I want to because I'm just flooded. So it's the little that may trigger me to say, well, look, actually, I really like that car. What is that car in the game? Oh, it's from the movie, Need for Speed, whatever. I'm down. Oh, it features, Brad Pitt. I'll watch it. I'm in. So I'm kind of dragging you from short form to long form through gaming because it's interactive. You're right. So just like you mentioned, you now you said it. You said it. The interactivity is a step further, right? Now, I think we're still in an age, or we're kind of still in the last cusp of viewability. So I'm still watching things and getting triggered by like, Instagram stories and TikTok and all of this stuff because it's by view, right? But sooner or later, you're the I'm going to start grabbing your attention more when you're interacting with it because now you're emotionally invested, right? So the interactivity of games is actually the next level of it, and that's a massive opportunity. Yeah.
Okay, you raised a significant amount of funding to build out this infrastructure, right? Give us your strategy to get investors to say yes. How do you
Mhm.
pitch them? How do you reach out to them? And how do you get them to say yes?
Look, man, raising money is not it's not a fun thing to do, right? It's like you're shaking your tin can, and in today's environment, you really just have look, I'll give you I'm not a first time founder. That's the thing, right? So again, I'll go back to I've failed so many times, especially when it comes to raising money, that I've learned every single time like what works, what doesn't work, right? When it comes to investment, number one, like, would you buy the product yourself? Are you going to invest? Are you asking yourself all of the hard questions? And unfortunately, today, like with a lot of the startups or a lot of people that are raising money, sometimes like I hear pitches and I'm like, did you listen to yourself before um, pitching me this? So you really have to kind of ask yourself the very tough questions and make sure that you're able to answer anything that comes your way. That's step one. When you are when you are as confident and comfortable as possible that any question that comes your way you are able to tackle, then you can hit all doors. Now, that's not really going to happen all the time because over time, while you're speaking to investors, you're going to start learning, okay, what are the gaps that are missing in my pitch or my business model? So it's also to refine, right? Now, a lot of investors today, what's really interesting is that when they say no to you, that doesn't mean no forever. People take it like, no, I'm just going to go to the next guy. Not a lot of people look at the feedback that they get and say, okay, well, look, that's the feedback that I got from Ashley VC. I'm going to go back, fix everything that he said is wrong. Why is it a no? And go back, you know, because those are the people that are like, okay, well, okay, you fix that. Now let's look at what else. And that's how just to kind of like really build up your investment case, right? Another piece of advice is like, man, back in the day, I think it was so much more. It was simpler times where you could really knock on someone's door, right? And today, it doesn't work like that. You really need um, hot. I mean, you need intros to investors. You need people to kind of like eh, have or trust that your product enough that they would make a good intro to you so that you're able to make your pitch. A warm intro goes so far, right? It goes a lot farther than me calling you on randomly and saying, "Hey, I have a pitch." Um, and I think like uh, building relationship is a very important thing, right? Like I've been on the other side where it's like people are pitching me, but you never want to feel like you're just money. I'm a person. So like you're telling your story to a human. If that human can um, really see and feel your mission, then most of the time you'll get a yes. And I think today, most of the time, like especially within tech is moving so fast that I really believe that most of our investors, they've invested because of the team, because they know that whatever changes, we're going to be able to adapt to to future changes in anything. Uh, that's the biggest, I'd say the biggest thing, to be honest. So yeah, when it came to us raising money, it was kind of a formula of all those three. And you just have to put your head down, really believe in what you're doing, know that you're not gonna give up on it, and continue to prove and to build and to enhance your story, your case, your investment case. Um, and again, like build those relationships so that they're no longer, Ashley, I'm trying to raise money here, bye, goodbye, yes, bye. But more along the lines of like, this is a relationship that, whether you invest or not, I think we can add value to each other.
That's great advice. That's really good advice on listening to feedback. But now that you've got the money
Mm,
on board, uh, what are you going to be spending it on? Are you going to be using it to build product? Are you going to be using it to
mm.
grow marketing? Is it a bit of both?
Yeah, so there's I mean, look, I think a lot of people would say they like to spend money within business. It's a very um yeah, it's not the funnest, right? You have to be extremely like careful how you spend your money, so that number one, you have enough runway, and number two is so that you achieve things. Of course, within any business, you put a specific percentage for like risk, right? Like this is what I'm going to try and error. But for us, it was mostly okay. Well, look, we know what we're going to build. We're building an infrastructure, we're building an SDK, and we have a big tech component to our product. And so the seed or the initial raise was to build that out, right? Build that out so that we can then go to market. Now, what we have successfully done is we've built out the product. We have, uh, uh, I'd say, like gone to market with an initial batch of uh, partners or clients so that we can prove the case. And then where you go from that is really kind of like marketing and scale. I think for us, we didn't even put any too much into marketing and scale, because a lot of the times people kind of reverse it, right? They're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to use the initial batch to market myself, to go crazy, and like I want everyone to know me. Great. But if I do find you and you don't have a product yet, you lost me. So we have been like fully focused on just building something strong enough that can prove what our thesis, our goal, and that's something that we will then look to market and hire and scale, right, and build out. Um, so we're obviously going to look at another raise. We're looking at another raise right now in terms of a strategic next round, and that is more so that we can scale the business forward, market, and then obviously enter different regions. So India is an amazing region for us. Latin America is a huge region for us. Africa is a massive we have so many different regions that we want to tap into, and that's you hence need to have the right budget so that you can go and kind of build scale from there.
So you've launched a live gaming show as a
Yeah.
founder. I think that's super rare. I actually know another guy who's doing that. So I think you guys are like the only two people I know who's actually doing that. Talk about that. Is that like a passion project? Is it like a hobby, or is it actually driving business?
So I'll tell you one thing is that as an entrepreneur, you will always like find you'll always kind of plateau, right? There's always ups, there's high ups, high downs, and then there's periods of like questioning what is how do I prioritize? What do I do? And so for me, I guess one of the things that we have is like, we're a gaming business first and foremost. We're a game publisher. Game publishing, especially when you're a B2B model, is not very sexy, right? You'd like you don't know, and I don't think anyone on Twitter is going to be buzzing that we are working with whoever exactly. It's a B2B deal. Everyone's like, yeah, whatever. Today, you have like retail is crazy about B2C. And so we're a gaming business, but we also have a crypto component to our business. And I mentioned this yesterday is like, you have a lot of crypto companies doing gaming. We are a gaming business with a crypto component. Yes. And so a lot of people look at the gaming side of crypto and they say, well, it didn't really work out. It didn't do. That's because those were crypto companies. They weren't gaming companies, right? So we are, you know, a gaming business that is doing things within the crypto space. And I think that is something that you have to really trial and error. You really have to cook the crease with your community to see what works and what doesn't work. For me, I was like, well, what is the best way to, number one, showcase the games, and number two, showcase my partners like yourself, and number three, get the community excited about what's going on. And so I really had a kind of like it was like an epiphany, and I was like, listen, you know what I want to do? I don't want to do a podcast like I don't think that works for what we do. It doesn't showcase the games. I don't want to do a AMA format kind of thing. I would love to do a game show. I think that's something that I personally, maybe it's out of my comfort zone, but I'm, excited about. Who wouldn't want to be a host of a game show? Steve Harvey, that thing. And it's your own product. So we built out a new product, which is basically just a weekly game show where I invite amazing founders, I invite athletes, I invite friends, I invite community members, I invite everybody. Um, Number one, the purpose is to show that everybody's a gamer. Everybody's got a gamer in them. And this is why this thesis works. My mother is a gamer. My sister is a gamer. My mother's a gamer. My neighbor's a gamer. And my doctor and my best friend. Everybody's a gamer. No matter how tough you think you are, you will like some kind of game.
Okay, so you mentioned everyone is a gamer, right? It it reminds me of Ratatouille, like the animated movie where they say everyone is a chef, or everyone can be a chef. But anyway, getting back into this, you saying everyone can be a gamer. Is the goal of the show to make gaming accessible to everyone? Like, is that the goal?
Brother, it's so easy. Yes. If I catch you, yeah, you're gonna just like, I'll suck you in. So the thesis of it is like, okay, I want to show that everybody's a gamer. I also want to show people what our games look like. What would you get with our games? And then number three, it's like, how do you put a consumer spin on it? Like, how do you get the community excited? And so within game shows, is like all like rewards, um, prizes. I'm gonna give away this. I'm gonna give away that, and you give things away, right? You give things away to the community so that they can support you, follow you, play your games, tell you what you're doing right, tell you what you're doing wrong. And so to combine those three aspects together, the game show is born, and We're only on episode 4 tomorrow, but so far it's been awesome. It's been an awesome experience. It's improving all the time. You know, you never know. But I think, as with everything, as with your podcast, right? See a lot of people that try these things. They put themselves out of their comfort zone. But actually um, the biggest thing is to just not give up, is to be consistent, right? So I'm not looking to become a billionaire off of a game show. I'm looking to expose um my thesis and what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, dude, I love how you show up regardless of the numbers, right? Regardless of the audience, just showing up every single week. I think that's awesome. What keeps you motivated though, right? Because people say stuff like, "Oh, you should make content regardless of the numbers," but I mean, we are human, and when we see the numbers and we see that we've uploaded a video or that we're live streaming and no one's watching, it can affect us, right? So, how do you keep going regardless of how the numbers do, and now what's your motivation?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's more like, I don't care if 2 people are watching or 2 billion people are watching, you know? It it it's not about that. It's about what I'm trying to do. And that's something that, drives me to do it every week. It's not something that okay, well, I'm gonna do it because I'm trying to get something out of it, right?